What's up, guys? It's Mark Yoon, and today I'm bringing another hopefully exciting video. So what I got for you today is a couple of the wants and desires of the community for Spawn that we'd like to see in Mortal Kombat 11. So a few things that we wanted to go over first is, like, we know that in this Friday, I believe, it is going to be the 8th of March, and that's where the competition is going to be, where they're actually going to be releasing the Spawn actual gameplay footage, the gameplay trailer. So when that comes out, be sure I'm going to record it. I'm going to make a video about it. But for right now, some things I wanted to talk about with my own Spawn gameplay footage from Soul Calibur 2 HD Online and my created character Spawn from Soul Calibur 6 in background that you'll see. The first thing I wanted to talk about is how, like, I like the way that the Soul Calibur actually had him move. Like, he was very flippant, and he had a lot of aerial attacks and a lot of lows encounters, and the way he used his axe agony to spin around and stuff was really good. But a lot of people have also told me things that they want to see from him directly. There's a lot of things that people are expecting from this character, because it is a character that does have a history, and it does have a large, amount of people that follow him. He's a pretty popular character. It's not exactly something that you could just take and do whatever you want with. He does already have a large arsenal. So some of the comments I got on my last video for Spawn Desires and Expectations, I wanted to read and show some of the things that other people were talking about themselves. So Patriots1112 says, I'm looking forward to see what Spawn looks like. The gameplay for Mortal Kombat isn't for me, but the character design and voice acting is always really good. He has a point there. It does really have its own kind of, like, it's almost like movie quality, the way that NetherRealm does their games, especially since they started adding, like, the full cinematics with the next generation, I wouldn't say the previous generation, but they actually, like, do take a lot of time and put a lot of resources into their voice acting, and obviously they use motion capture for what they're utilizing when they're making the games themselves. And then let's get on to what Ragaroth says. If you guys know, Ragaroth has his own channel. His name is Rich. His channel is Ragaroth. You'll find a link to it in my description box down below, so be sure to go follow him as well. He says, I feel like Redeemer and Anti-Spawn, or Medieval Spawn, are the necessities. I'd love Angel Spawn, which is actually Wings of Redemption Spawn. That's what he's called officially. But I don't know if they do it, since they have to change the cape so much. Omega Spawn would be cool as well, but I'm a bit worried about his outfits after Joker and Terminator. But those who are more advertisey, so maybe they'll have a bit more freedom with Spawn, and maybe him being last will also pay off. I do think this will be the best version of Spawn in a game so far, but I feel like even still I'll be saying, damn, I wish they would have inserted something. The sword is cool, but I hope it's not a huge chunk of his moveset, unless it could do crazier things than I think. That is a good point about the sword, maybe meaning Medieval Spawn is in, though. So what I was talking to him about in the last video is that perhaps there's a Medieval Spawn moveset of some kind, or maybe his character is incorporated in the game somehow, just based on the fact that he is also using a sword. So I can't see them, like, missing that opportunity by, just straight up ignoring that fact. Like, he's a really popular version of Spawn also. So yeah, he also says, he goes on to say, I think it's mainly just because Spawn's abilities are so hard to emulate 100%, because I was talking to him about what's going on with Medieval Spawn, how Medieval Spawn actually has a better chance of being in it because he has a new comic that just released. Image Comics just started putting out Medieval Spawn #1 again, so it does kind of increase the chances of him showing up in the game, especially if Todd McFarlane wants to cross-promote. And then we have SolarFlare95, who says, I hope that they do Spawn some justice, and I like that he's voiced by Keith David. That was something I also mentioned in the video. I'm extremely happy that he's voiced by Keith David, who, as I mentioned in the video, is the voice actor who portrayed Spawn in the HBO TV series, the animated series. So that was really like, I really wanted him to be in the game. But Keith David does a lot of video game stuff. He was like a prominent role in Saints Row and Halo. So there's like he's definitely, I thought he was going to come back and do it anyway, but I'm happy to see that he actually did. So the only other thing I want to get into is how they can mess him up. And this is going to be kind of I don't want to say controversial, but it differs based on the person's opinion, because we all have our own ideas of like what we want the character to do and be portrayed as when we see him in the game. As something that comes from a lot of literature, we interpret him how we want him based on, if you're minusing the live action movie, which wasn't that great, and the HBO series. The HBO series is actually excellent, so you should check that out. It's a good portrayal of the character. He was like almost ripped straight from the comic books if you haven't seen that yet. But they can mess him up by, again, I said, not utilizing guns at all. He needs to utilize guns at some point, because 90% of the reason that in the comic books that he uses guns is because there's a timer, and once his timer goes by, that means he uses up all of his powers that he was given from Malebolgia, and Malebolgia will own his soul, and he'll become a general of Hell's Army. That's literally what will happen. So he'll basically die and become a slave if he uses his powers all the time, which is why he relies so heavily on the guns and stuff like that. Even the chains and using the symbiote like the cape and stuff, those things actually help negate the power deficit also. So he's lessly relying on the energy blasts and like his like reality warping abilities and stuff like that in order, like his transformative powers and stuff. A lot of that was subconscious at first and was eating away at his life cycle. I'll show you the actual bar on screen while we're talking about it, because it was actually a thing before he became a Mega Spawn. Now we're into like the 300s of the issues, so I'm not sure how much that plays a role anymore. I don't actually think it does. I do have issue 300 and 301, so I can go back and check to see if they started utilizing it again, but I'm not sure if they do. But the gunplay needs to be in there. Like I said in the last video, it needs to either be a command grab or it needs to be its own, just combo or move. There's got to be something in there, even if it's like a parry or something. It doesn't matter. It just has to be in there. Another thing is he has to use his chains. I think they're not going to skimp away from this. I think they are going to use his chains, but if they don't utilize his chains and it's just there for aesthetics, that is going to take away some of the character, personally, for me, in my opinion. I think we all know that they're going to utilize the cape. They kind of have to. At least they're going to let the cape like punch and grab or something like that. I think that's actually how they're going to initiate grabs. It's probably going to be the cape goes and grabs their foot or something and pulls them close. And then he's going to do like a combo with either the guns or the chains or something like that. If not in the grab itself, then probably the fatal blow is going to be utilizing the cape. I can't see them not doing it. But again, these are things that I'm saying will probably mess up the character if they don't put him in. So hopefully they just give us some variety and actually show off a wide array of his moves, as opposed to just containing them to one aspect of the character. Because that was my biggest complaint when I played with him in Soul Calibur 2 HD Online, is like they got rid of the cape, they got rid of the chains, he didn't use guns, they pretty much put everything into Agony. His axe, which actually was his cape transformed into Agony. So I can understand that, but within that world, that makes a lot more sense in the Soul Calibur area. But this is Mortal Kombat, so we're expecting a lot more. We didn't get him in Injustice 2 like we thought we were going to, so let's see what they bring to the table with Mortal Kombat 11. And I'm sure they'll bring the goods, but let me know in the comment section down below what things will disappoint you the most if they don't include About Spawn. Or do you even care? Are you that familiar with the character and you just want to have a new fun DLC character to play as? Or are you mad that they're not using classic characters like Molina's still not in, or Havoc? So just let me know in the comment section down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, guys. I always appreciate that. Thanks for sticking with me. And as always, peace.